This is the demonstration of having a collegial circle meeting. You'll be doing yours probably over the phone, where maybe you're just hearing each other, or you could be doing it in your virtual classroom. You could be seeing each other if you use Skype. So yours won't perhaps be exactly like this. I think your members probably are going to be better looking than my members, but you still will have this same experience. The members of my team are Susan Barefoot. I've noticed that there's lots of variation and diversity in our teachers as well as the students. And this is the other member of my team. His name is Ted E. Bear. He insists on his initial being said every time. He wears glasses. He's a little bit dyslexic. He's pretty loosey-goosey, but he thinks he's very structured, and he comes across as very structured. So now we're going to jump into our meeting because the 10 minutes just flies. When we started our meeting, I asked if everyone had done all of their things that they needed to do to prepare for the meeting, and they assured me they have, and I can tell you for sure from just them talking that they've covered all this very well. I have my agenda laying here by me, and how we'd start off is opening the discussion with any one of those questions or one that I want to come up with by myself. The one I've chosen to use is, what questions do you have for the group to explore today as a result of your reading? It should be that they have sticky notes all over their books, and you should see their books are covered with sticky notes that they want to bring to the table, because it told us to sticky note things that you want to talk about when you did come together as a group. Our group is covering the introduction in Chapter 1. In the introduction, or you might turn back to those pages as you're meeting. On page 6, it talks about all children learning and us making sure that we're addressing that. And I'd like to point out to you on the bottom of 6 and 7, there's a list that talks about each of the things that we want to really focus on for differentiating instruction. Now, Ted is always, I know, he's always wanting to read these lists. And Ted, really, we can read, and we've already read them. So count on that from us. Can you do that? I know that you could. He trusts us and knows that he can count on that we've taken care of our part of it. But I think there's going to be a real temptation to read things anywhere, and I think you need to help every member not do that. We've talked about the resources, and we've talked about how to use the book. So now we'll jump right on into Chapter 1. And what did y'all have marked in Chapter 1? Susan had marked on page 11, she just can't wait to ask you, from the different thinking styles from Gregoric, which of those fit you? She wanted to share that she was an abstract random thinker, that really described her. But Ted, without any question, said he was a concrete sequential thinker. And I would agree from working with him that that's exactly true, because he's very structured and everything sequenced and step by step. It depends on the responsibilities I have, but concrete random thinker is probably me. Do you see how that makes our team enriched, that we come from different ways of thinking? That's the same for kids. If we didn't come together that way, we'd think that there was only one way to do things, and that one way was the right way. Ted had marked on page 12 something that he really enjoyed reading. It was on the tips, and that tip section is very valuable and some really cool ideas. And the one in there was about baiting the hook, not with what the fisherman liked, but with what the fish liked. And when you put that on top of the idea of differentiating instruction for kids, I think that's a very powerful way to look at that. If you keep that in mind, you're never going to catch a fish if it's only what you like. Fish don't like hamburgers or ice cream cones, but if you put on there what they need, which is what we do with kids, then they're going to just eat it up, and that's our goal. 4 learning styles on page 14 and 15 are the chart things, which I think really pulls it together so you can see exactly what it looks like. Ted loved those, and he mentioned that we had done that for the assignment that was due on Sunday of this week, and so he had his, and we talked through his. I won't take y'all through that because the time is not available for us with a 10-minute cutoff from YouTube, but that would be something you might talk about in your meetings, something like that you had covered and something that you wanted to bring up and just kind of kick around together. Susan mentioned multiple intelligences, and she went to Lateral University, a fine Christian institution, and she said they had covered that at length, and she'd been using it for a while and had been sharing with her team, and Ted vouched for that was something that she'd been helping him know about, and they had been doing for quite some time. Now, for my sticky note that had not been brought up so far, I brought up about Dr. Mel Levine's ideas of the neurodevelopmental systems: attention, memory, language, spatial ordering, sequential ordering, motor, higher thinking, social thinking. I was surprised that Ted had not brought that up. Oh, you were going to, I just beat him to it, sorry. That's something that I had not seen before. That's bringing that brain research into that. He talks about we shouldn't label the child, we should label the behavior, and if we'd analyze the tasks of how we do things, how we teach things, how they need to be able to do those things, we could figure out where is the piece that they're having trouble with, and then work on that piece. I think that's very powerful, and really bringing their individual strengths into play for correcting those things. Then for gender-based preferences, this is something that I have seen a lot of, and I think there is still some truth to it. Now, the evolutionary biologist that's mentioned on page 21, Susan has actually cut that out of her book, but I have said we don't have to really cut up books. You could just mark it out. Or, as mine, I've just got an arrow that says no, pointing to it. But girls and boys even play with toys differently. We give them different toys, and that is some of the reason that they come up with different skills, although it does stress there's many exceptions to that rule. The thing that we all had sticky noted was the 16 habits of mind, and even the part about a school that had embraced that. We thought that was all pretty cool and something that we think we want to look at as a team when we make our plan in just a few minutes. As the leader, I would probably get us to look at page 25 and 6 of the things to consider, because that pulls together how do I honor diversity in my classroom. I love that. How do we honor diversity? And I would not read those bullets, although the temptation's there. I would not read those. I would just say to my team, look those over. Have we covered everything in that you wanted to bring up? Is there any part that you haven't discussed that we want to discuss? So back to my agenda, that's our reflecting and sharing. Developing an action plan. We have done that quickly. Not quickly, but we've done it quickly for you. We came up with that for this first time we were going to need more time than just a week. So we're really concentrating on 4 weeks. Susan's going to work on the Gregoric and pull it together, or find, she hopes on the website, a child version of that so that kids can help identify for themselves. Ted's going to bring some task rotations for some examples for us to play around with in our teaching. Multiple intelligences, Susan's going to kind of bring that to the table strongly, and I am going to bring up that neurodevelopmental systems, because that was something I was really interested in. We came up that we were going to use the first 4 words of the habits of the mind and make posters for our classrooms and talk about how we can teach those things to kids. My role as the leader now is to close the circle at the end. Make sure that we've tied up all the loose ends. And Ted and Susan, do y'all have anything else you'd like to add? Good meeting, you enjoyed it, and we covered everything that you wanted to cover. Oh, you still wanted to say, Susan still wanted to say she didn't think that gender stuff had anything to do with anything, but I have to disagree with you, Susan, respectfully. I also, as the leader, would say that the next person that's going to be leading the group is so-and-so, so that we have that all set and confirm our meeting time and our meeting date. And then I would conclude our meeting with any questions, comments, and concerns. And that should take care of all. I'm using up very close to 10 minutes, so that's the end.